Hey, Coach Corey here. Today in this video, I'm answering the question, can you break your metabolism? Now, the worst thing about YouTube videos is having to wait until 5 minutes in to receive the answer to the question that you initially asked. And sometimes by the time we even get to that point in the video, you forgot what the question was. So I'm not doing that to you today. The answer, can you break your metabolism? It's complex, just like nutrition. It's a yes and a no. I'm gonna keep it very simple for you here today. There's a lot of underlying and correlating causes. There's a ton going on in nutrition, as we all know, and this is why it can be really skewed, and you can always find both sides of the argument, right? Well, I'm gonna give you both sides of the argument here anyway, so I feel pretty diplomatic. So the answer is yes and no. Yes, some damage that we do to our bodies is absolutely unrepairable. It sucks, but it is the truth about our bodies. Now the no is that we can repair, we can heal, and we can certainly adapt to having a better diet. And really, of course, nutrition and diet, that's the bottom line here. It's about what you're eating, the combinations of different things that you're eating, as well as, of course, your macronutrients, your carbohydrate, your fat, and your protein intake. So with all of that, what we're trying to do is just fuel the body enough so that we can do what we want to do. But on a standard American diet, we often find that we're eating way too many carbohydrates, not nearly enough protein and fat. And this is the opposite of what we're looking for. What we really want to do is totally control the carbohydrates, 50 grams of carbs per day or less. We want to prioritize our protein, and we want to fill in the rest of those calories with fat. And here's why. Your protein and your fat are the building blocks of your physical body. We need the nutrients, the tiny little chemicals and molecules that are found in fat and protein. We need those to literally build our bodies. Our cell walls are made essentially out of saturated fat. Your myelin sheath on your neurons, this is what helps messages travel quickly through the body. It's made of fat. And your brain, it's made of fat, and it uses fat for fuel. So if you're on a low cholesterol or a low fat diet, unfortunately, that shouldn't be the goal. The goal isn't to have low cholesterol, but more on that later. So when we're in a metabolic state of distress or disorder, we're not giving our bodies what it needs. It's a standard American diet, high carb, low fat, low protein. Then we're essentially doing some kind of damage to the body when it comes to, it's the mitochondria, but I'm not going to get too into it right now. But the mitochondria is not only the powerhouse of your cell. This is how we learned it in school. All of us, doctors, nutritionists, coaches, if you went to school for anything that's kind of in that biology field, you probably learned about the mitochondria in context of the muscle cell. And, we talked about it being the powerhouse of the cell. Well, I'm learning that the mitochondria controls so much more than just energy. It absolutely has a hand in neurotransmitter production and regulation, hormone production and regulation, and other chemical signals in the body that essentially just help your systems and cells communicate with each other. It's a vast network, and there's so much going on. So again, when we're not giving our bodies what it needs, we start to experience metabolic dysfunction at the mitochondrial level. On a cellular level, we're not getting the body the energy that it needs. And again, that can cause irreparable damage. Now, a lot of the damage that we're doing to our bodies actually can be repaired. And if you've been following on keto, ketovore, or the carnivore diets, you're probably seeing things like meat heals, eat meat, and specifically these fatty cuts. And so we can use our diet to heal our metabolism. Now, my biggest struggle was depression. And so what that essentially means is that my brain metabolism wasn't functioning the way that it should. I was likely, although I don't know for sure, of course, I was likely experiencing some kind of insulin resistance in my brain, which was causing a metabolic syndrome, or at least metabolic disorder, where I would feel little to no confidence. I was irritable. Sometimes it presented as I couldn't get out of bed, or I couldn't stop crying, but I didn't know why. Like crippling depression, suicidal ideation. I mean, it came along with all of it. And once I started to really hone in on my diet, I noticed that I was having way more positive days, clear days, much more control over my energy, and just my emotions and my range of emotions and experiences. So yes and no. Some damage you can absolutely repair and heal, and some damage we're not going to be able to. And that's all right. We'll always find ways to work around that irreparable damage. There is so much technology and there are so many different solutions to help us. But again, the good news is that we can mostly heal. Now, what I want to talk about next is using your diet to heal, right? Like, where is all of this going? Now, I gave you the bulk of the information there in terms of whether or not you can break your metabolism, but how do we heal our metabolism? That's why we're here, right? We want to do better. And so what I'm going to do next is kind of outline how you can get yourself to a healthier spot through your diet. I'm going to give you kind of levels. I'm going to kind of rank these low carbohydrate diets and let you know, kind of depending on what you think your metabolic damage may look like, you can kind of choose your level of entry, as well as, you know, your discipline and your behavior habits and things like that we want to consider. So we're going to touch on all of that right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the CrossFit diet, which is eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. I'm going to talk about keto. Kind of takes it a step further, canceling out your fruits and your starches. Maybe there's a little bit of veggie intake. Absolutely no nuts and seeds. We're cutting those out as well. I'm really focusing on the meat and vegetable aspect of that diet. Ketovore takes it a step further where you're canceling out even more of the carbohydrates, the veggies, really focusing on the fatty cuts of meats. But occasionally, maybe you're like, hey, every now and then I like to have a salad or some leafy greens, broccoli, something like that. And you kind of choose vegetables and plants that feel good in your body and work for you, which is definitely unique to the individual. And then lastly, we're going to talk about carnivore as an extreme diet, as a diet that you can use all the time, and as an elimination diet. So we're going to touch on all of those things. Here we go. So eat meat, vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. The CrossFit diet is an excellent stepping stone diet to cleaning it up and getting you on the right track towards working towards keto. So let's say right now you're just standard American diet, processed foods. It's all right. We're not judging. We're just noticing where we're at here. So that standard American diet, we're looking at kind of high carbohydrate, processed foods, seed oils, sunflower, safflower, canola, palm, things like that. We want to cut those out of the diet right away, as well as any refined carbohydrates and sugars. And that's really the goal of that CrossFit diet. So it is a beautiful step, and it's typically the step that I take with all of my clients first. Let's start to cut the junk out, the stuff that is literally not food. It's made in plants, factories, and it's science, y'all. It's just food science. So we're gonna cut all that shit out. We're gonna stick with whole foods. This, in short, is just a whole food or as minimally processed foods as possible type diet. That's the CrossFit diet. If you have any level of metabolic damage, whether it was similar to me, maybe there's some kind of mental stuff going on, but physically, you know, you're active, you stay fit, but you know that there's something going on there and you know that diet is the answer, then that CrossFit diet is gonna be a really great option for you to start with. The next one is keto. Again, takes it a step further. We're gonna cut out the nuts and seeds, the fruit and the starch. We're gonna focus on the meat and vegetables. And this is pretty much all that you'll eat on that keto diet. Every now and then, again, you may splurge and have something, a special treat, but looking at once a month, once you're very well settled into keto, but for your first 2 or 3 months, you probably want to just stay away from those things, because what you're really doing is trying to kick a carbohydrate addiction. That is a topic for a whole nother video as well, but I know that I was addicted to sugars and carbohydrates. There's a really good chance that if you're watching this video, you are too. And again, no judgment. We just have to take inventory of where we're at, be really real with yourself about where you're at so that you can take appropriate steps forwards. So keto, maybe if you're experiencing more metabolic damage, it could look like mental health disorder, but it's probably obesity. Maybe you're pre-diabetic, or maybe you have type 2 diabetes. Now, I'm not talking about type 1 diabetes. Specifically, type 2 diabetes is metabolic disease, which means that we know that there are certain markers in the body that are going to say, hey, you have this, range of this marker, you're likely going to be diabetic, or you already are, okay? You're someone who probably wants to start more on that keto diet. We want to cut all that junk out as quickly as possible. If you're on medications, I am not a doctor. You need to be talking with your doctor about, insulin levels, and be in communication with them around what you want to do with your diet and how you would like to start to heal yourself, because that end goal for you is to get off of the drugs, get off of the insulin as well. And so it's a journey that you'll embark on. I recommend keto, but doing it with the assistance of a physician who maybe has experience with it, or who has experience with other patients within their clinical practice. So keto is a great option. Ketovore is right up there as well. So if you're experiencing kind of higher levels of metabolic damage, it might be a good idea for you to go very strict with it, mostly just fatty cuts of meats, fat and protein intake, and little to no almost anything else, at least until we can get your gut healthy and we can kind of get your body just functioning the way that it should. So again, really kickstarting that healing process, and just staying disciplined with it. So again, that might look like a month or two, maybe up to 3 months, until we can get you to a spot where you're metabolically healthy. And then I'm gonna go right into carnivore here as well, because carnivore is absolutely nothing but animal products. We can use these diets as elimination diets. So if you're just fed up with it, whatever that it is for you that you're experiencing when it comes to your metabolic syndrome or disorder would be another kind of mild form of that. If you're just like over where you're at and you're like, I need to make moves, carnivore could be a really great option for you, because it is going to help you heal quickly, as we're not bringing anything into the body that isn't considered essential, which is your fat and your protein. And then once you're on those diets, it could be any one of those, with the exception of that CrossFit Diet. CrossFit Diet really sets you up for success in the long term. All of these diets can be used in the long term, but again, keto, ketovore, or carnivore can also be used as elimination diets. One of my best friends is French, and she is not about to give up all of those delicious foods that are, within that French culture and that she grew up on. She's like, dude, I could never do this. This is crazy. And I'm like, wait, listen, this can be used for a period of time as an elimination diet to get you healthy, and then we'll start to reintroduce foods, and you can determine whether or not that food feels good, if it's something that you want to keep eating or including in your diet, whether that's regular or just an every now and then treat. And now lastly, answering the question, how do I know which diet is right for me? Or how do I know how much damage I've done to my metabolism? And so the simplest way to kind of figure that out is really just by starting with the CrossFit Diet. Eating meat, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, controlling your fruit, controlling your starch, and absolutely no sugar. So starting there. And then if you're not getting the results that you want after a month or 2 months, then I just recommend moving down the line. Let's kind of, continue to make sure that we're choosing really high quality whole foods. Bump yourself to that keto diet, start to eliminate the fruit, the starches, or anything that may spike insulin in the body. Really focusing on the fatty meat cuts and the veggies. And again, if we're not getting the results that we want there, then again, carnivore is right there for you as well. Cut everything else out and stick with just animal products. Now remember, animal products includes butter. Whew, thank God. Butter, hard cheeses, and even maybe milk, again, depending on where you are on that spectrum, your goals, and what you're looking to do essentially, and kind of how much healing you have. So again, start with something a little bit more simple, the CrossFit Diet. And if we're not getting the results that we want, we'll kind of continue to eliminate and figure out what's not working in the body, what's holding us up. So again, can you break your metabolism? Yes and no, but the great news is that we can really heal a lot of the damage that we've done to our bodies, and that is the bottom line. We can use the CrossFit Diet as our lifelong nutrition strategy. Eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. We can use keto, ketovore, and carnivore as lifelong nutrition strategies to help you feel the best that you could possibly feel. Gosh, I feel so good on carnivore. I just want people to recognize that there is so much more for you out there when we can remove the distraction that is our nutrition. And then lastly, we can use these diets as elimination diet. It's not something that you have to do for a really long period of your life. Maybe you're in a category where we eat carnivore for a year or two, and then we start introducing. Truly, everyone is on their own timeline. And nutrition, as always, it's unique to the individual. There's only one right diet. It's the one that works for you, that you can stay consistent with, that essentially helps you optimize your health, your wellness, your fitness, whatever those goals are for you. So let me know what questions you have here. Let me know what's clear, what's unclear, and let me know what else you want to learn about. Don't take my word for it. Go on out there, find your own research, do some reading. There's just amazing books coming out all the time. People are spending their life to study this topic or these topics, and we get to bring in all of that information in like 6 hours in the form of an audiobook or something. So, do your research, make moves that make sense for you. And if you're looking for any kind of other guidance, I'm your girl. Come on over to my website, come on over to my Facebook group, whatever it is, and let's start talking about optimizing your nutrition strategy. Have an awesome day. I can't wait to be back here with you later. I will see you then.